It was a hot August day in 1954 on a little farm in Greenwood County, South Carolina. We were sharecroppers there. I was about 8 or 9 years old, and Daddy was out plowing in the field that day. Became my job as a little guy, carrying some water. So I did. I filled up a half-gallon of cold well water to carry to him. It took me about 20 minutes, half hour, to get to where he was, and he stopped at the end of that long row and came over, and I gave him that water, and I said, "Hey, your water, Daddy," and "Thank you, son." He was a big man. They always called him Big Jack. He was wet all the way to his waist with sweat. He pushed back that straw hat over his balding head and gulped that water down. He spilled it, but you couldn't tell it because his shirt was already wet. He handed me back the jar and said, "Son, you better hurry home. Looks like there's a cloud coming up over there." "Okay, Daddy." So I turned around and was walking back home. I hadn't gotten very far when it got dark all of a sudden and the town around me. I was scared, and I started to run. I hadn't gone very far before a lightning bolt came down and split a big pine tree right in front of me. There was a thunderclap that shook the ground. I ran faster then. My heart will move just as fast as it could go, and I heard my daddy running beside me. And the mule, too. And the chains on the mule was rattling. And we ran just as hard as we could. Of course, Daddy slowed down to let me keep up with him. We got back to the barn there and got out of the rain. We stayed there till the rain stopped. We took the gears off the mule, went inside and put on some dry clothes. Then we joined my mama and my younger sister on the front porch where they were shelling butter beans. Mom, of course, was always glad to have the help, and Mama always had something for you to do. Dad and I joined them and started shelling the beans. We hadn't been there very long before we heard a car coming down the road. Now, our little two-room house was only just about, 50 feet from the road. And it was a red dirt road, and it was very wet, and this car comes down through there, just kind of sliding along like that. I recognized it straight away. It was a 1954 Pontiac. I'd seen a picture of one in Life magazine at school. And I said, Mama, look, it's the mean kids. They the ones always make fun of me and Sissy. They always call us hicks and rednecks and bad names like that. Mama, I just hate them. I just hate them bad. And Mama looks at me and she said, "Son, don't you ever say you hate somebody, because you remember, Jesus told us we had to love everybody. We were supposed to love everybody." Okay? "Yes, ma'am, Mama. Yes, ma'am." So we continued to shell beans for a while, and the car went back by. Like that. Dad says, "Listen, what's that?" We all stopped talking. Listen, he said, "You hear that? I believe that's a car that's got stuck in the mud somewhere down the road." "Yes, sir, Daddy. I believe it is too." "Son, you go get that old trace chain we got back out there in the barn, and I'll put the gears on Ruby, and we'll go down there and pull them out." "Yes, sir, Daddy." I jumped up and was ready to go. I was always ready to help Daddy do something. We started walking down that old muddy road. I was barefooted. I could feel that soft, warm mud ooze up between my toes, and it tickled. I started giggling almost, but I kept walking. I kind of skipped along a little bit, and I figured I better slow down. I'd fall down, and if I fell and got mud all over, Mama would get awful upset about it. But in a little while, we got to the car, and sure enough, it was that 54 Pontiac sitting in the ditch. Daddy walks up and taps on the window. it comes down. I guess it was some powered windows or something. Ma'am, look like you got yourself in a mess here.
Why, yes, sir, I have it. It's a brand new car. And could you call a tow truck for me?
No, ma'am, I can't do that.
You can't call a tow truck for me?
No, ma'am, I ain't got no telephone.
Oh, my, what am I gonna do?
Well, ma'am, if you slide over a little bit and let me get in, and we'll hook Ruby the mule up here to it, and me and my boy pull that Pontiac out of there.
Well, sir, it's a brand new car, and my husband would get upset if it was scratched. Are you sure you can do that?
Why, yes, ma'am, we can do it.
But it has an automatic transmission.
I seen one of them in the army, ma'am. Just move over.
Well, you'll have to take those muddy boots off before you get in.
All right, ma'am. Dad looked up at me and said, son, when I get in the car, you stand by Ruby, and when I give you the signal, you pop Ruby on the butt, and we'll pull his car out of here. So Daddy took his boots off and left them outside and got in the car and cranked it up and waved at me. I popped Ruby on the butt, and sure enough, it pulled that Pontiac right out of there. Daddy got out of the car and everything and got his boots back on. I carried them to him. And the lady never said thank you, kissed my behind, or nothing, and just drove off. It was a few days before Christmas, and a package come in the mail from the RFD mailman, and I carried it into the kitchen and put it on the table. So, look, Mama, look what we got. We got a package. It was about so big, you know. And she says, well, what is it, son? What you got? And I said, I don't know, Mama. Never seen anything like this before. Can I open it, Mama? Can I? Well, I guess that's all right, son. You can get my scissors out of my sewing basket. And be careful, don't let me drop them. And you can open it up. And so I did. I cut around the paper and the string and everything and got it off, you know, and opened it up. I opened the box up and looked inside, and it was a fruit cake. But it wasn't like Grandma's fruit cakes. Those things she baked in the dish pans that was all brown and stuff. No. This was in a shiny box inside the other box. And I opened it up, and it was a Jane Parker fruit cake from the A&P store. And it had a little fruit on top with red and yellow and green. It was pretty. It was the prettiest cake I had ever seen. Can I cut it, Mom? Can I cut it? Can I cut it? No, son, you can't do it until your father gets home. So we did. We waited until Daddy got home, and we had some Jane Parker fruit cake. And it was great. And then Mom said, Tony, did you find a note or anything in the box so that we can find out where the fruit cake came from? I said, I don't think so, Mama. Let me look at the trash. And I oh, here's a slip of paper. I think I can read it, Mama. It says, to whom it may concern. Thank you for helping me out of the ditch on that hot August day. Merry Christmas, Mrs. Jason Jackson. Wow. Mama says, oh yes, Tony, I remember when you and your daddy pulled that car out of the ditch. What a wonderful Christmas gift. And you know, for years after that, every year, a few days before Christmas, we'd get that Jane Parker fruitcake in the mail. But you know, Daddy told me something on that muddy road that day I always remember. He said, son, if you don't help somebody on life's highway, you might as well never get on the road. Well, I remember that. And I kind of tried to do that in my life.